Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
Hey, this is Tyler Jones, and you're listening to The Element Podcast. What's happening, all Woods people? There's a sign right there from Memphis, Tennessee, 56 miles. We are on the road again, and you could probably hear a really weird sound of bubble wrap or wrapping paper and a million elves unwrapping and wrapping presents, but
popcorn in the distance.
Popcorn in the distance.
Maybe like if you're like in the back bedroom and the popcorn in the microwave in the kitchen.
That's right. Yeah. That is rain on the windshield. We've been driving in it for a minute. It snowed on us this morning, and you just heard KC Smith, everybody's favorite co-host. He's riding. Actually, you're driving.
We switched things up a little bit here.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll be on top of my game this time or something, as opposed to usual. But we are coming home from ATA show, Archery Trade Association. They have a big show every year. It's a few days long. It's not super long. Kind of based around a weekend a little bit. And it's basically like a deer hunting show overall, I mean, there's definitely elk stuff there and other big game, but a lot of whitetail hunters in the building, weren't there?
Yeah, a lot of even some of the big dogs we hung out with kind of were like, yeah, this is really the whitetail show more than it is like the archery show, you know?
Right.
And apparently this is nothing compared to SHOT, which we won't be going to.
Right.
But SHOT's like 10 times the size plus more hype. So
yeah.
I don't know if I'm that interested in going to SHOT.
I don't either. I don't know,
man.
This is if you read the title, you probably figured this, but this is the ATA recap that you probably won't hear too often.
Yeah.
This is the way we experienced it. This is the reality of the situation. We're going to be pretty transparent about things, and we want to make sure that you know the good and the bad of what's going on in what a lot of people are calling the industry. I like to call it the community, but sometimes I don't feel like we're all one big community.
You ever seen like what are those circle diagrams where like these circles
There's 3 of them.
They have overlapping things. I feel like the industry and the community like overlap in some areas, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah, for sure. So I don't really know how to start this, but I guess one way would be to start with some questions we have that have been posed. Real quick, though, before, at the end of this thing, so don't fast forward, but listen through, we are going to announce the OnX Premium Annual Premium Membership winners from our YouTube subscribers. Thank you guys so much, man. We hit 1,000 and we have soared past since. We are on a steady incline with that YouTube channel. So, which I work really hard on it to put out good things for you, fun things for you to watch. So it makes me happy that you guys seem to be enjoying that, and I really appreciate the comments and everything that we get from those 1,000 people. So.
That's right. And listen here, peoples, if you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and go do it, because it's the place to be.
It is.
There's going to be a really sweet video launching possibly today.
Yeah.
And maybe pretty soon there might be some success.
There might be. And And even if, you know, the thing is, even if the video isn't posted very soon, you can always go watch guys owning cops. I like to watch those videos.
Libertarian Tyler comes out at night and gets lost on YouTube.
I can't, dude. I get into these weird, or like early in the morning sometimes, like my early morning will like be like Fast and Furious, and then like I'll come back to the house at like, I don't know, 9 o'clock, you know, and like turn my truck off, and I'm like, whoa, I'm tired all of a sudden, and I'll like get lost in this little YouTube spell that lasts like 20 minutes, and I basically watch this guy like tell off this cop like, you know, I've got constitutional rights, sir, you know, whatever. They don't use sir, but anyway, that's a like whole vortex that you don't want to get stuck in, because it will suck you in. You want to get stuck in things like cool things about hunting.
That's right.
Right.
Like Public Land Chronicles.
That's right. And you've been looking at a lot of really cool stuff from our previous guests about like land management and that kind of thing, right?
I have, man. Yeah, kind of really getting prepared to venture into that world, man. This off season is going to be a lot of that for me. I mean, I'm going to be out there doing some postseason stuff on public land, of course, but I got to sneeze.
Oh my gosh!
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
So you've been trying to venture into that, right?
Yes, yeah. I've been trying to get into some of that land management stuff, because a lot of this off season is going to be that for me, man. You know, buying the property and whatnot. It's not going to be like a giant, big scale thing. I'm not a giant, big scale guy.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. After this weekend, I might be.
How much you ate? Are you talking about?
yeah. For sure. But in a different way. Like, I'm going to be doing a lot of land management, and I'm still going to get out there on the, you know, public land and do postseason scouting and stuff, because it doesn't matter where I end up in life, where I end up hunting. You know, if I own more property or whatever, I'm still going to really probably desire to be out there on that. There's a bald eagle right there.
Hey, check that out.
There we go, dude.
That's the second one I've seen on this trip.
Yep.
The first one, I don't know if you saw, I think we were going over the Mississippi, and I pointed at it. It was coming straight at us. You couldn't really, it was hard to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's cool about this is that we're going to document, like, we're going to try to document everything we do on your property, or everything that you do. And so I'm going to obviously be the video guy, and you're going to be telling, like, because you've got a lot of thoughts that you and I haven't even talked about as far as that your property's involved. And that what's cool about this whole thing is that if you're a guy who, like, dreams of owning your spot, you know, a spot. This property's less than 20 acres.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not huge at all. And who knows? We know there's deer on it, right? But who knows if we're going to be able to draw them out in the daylight? You know, I mean, they may not live there in the daylight. It's highly likely that most of the time they don't. But what's cool is that you can kind of maybe get some inspiration out of this series and be like, you know what? I could afford 15. I could afford, you know, 17, 25 acres, you know,
I'm probably
this.
one of the more poor guys, you know, and I still pulled it off to where we bought a property, you know. It's going to be those things. We have to multi-purpose, and that's going to be something that you might not hear as much on some of these more land management style, you know, YouTube videos or whatever. You know, guys talk about, you know, even on small properties like 80 or 60 acres. I'm like, dude, that's big where we live.
It is, man.
And nothing against that. I mean, they've got some great ideas. I'm going to steal some of them and use them on my own place, but you got to kind of manipulate that and kind of adapt it for what you do. And this place, I mean, we're going to build a house there. We're going to live there. I'm probably going to raise some kids there. And I'm going to use my property not only as a hunting property, but I'm going to use it as an outdoor classroom, hopefully, for my kids and maybe other kids that I know and stuff like that. So it's going to be multi-use, something we enjoy. And one of the things I enjoy the most is hunting and observing whitetails.
Yep, yeah, for sure, dude. I'm excited about it. So that's coming up probably this spring and summer. And lead us back into fall, along with more of our gear reviews. We've got we've had several people ask about the cameras that we did like unboxings on this year. So we're gonna do probably a camera wrap up review, just let you know like what we liked and didn't like about our game cams this year. So all that's coming up. So if you haven't subscribed and at this point you don't have the chance to win those OnX premium memberships, there's still a benefit in what you'll get if you are a subscriber.
That's right. That's right.
Anyway, let's move on to, I guess, the bulk of this episode, which kind of starts with this whole idea that in just very little short amount of time, we are going to be doing a live Facebook event. So by the time you hear this, that will have already happened. But being that that's the case, we asked people to kind of send us some questions and stuff like that. So there are a few questions that we have right now. It's been kind of a short notice thing. So we've got a couple of questions. We'll start with kind of those, and that may lead us down some interesting but worthwhile rabbit holes that we can talk about and kind of segue through this thing about the ATA show and some of the things that have been going on lately in our life. So the first one, which, like I said, these will be in the Facebook Live video. So if you didn't catch that, then you're good. You're hearing it here. B.Shook5 asked the most trendy thing at ATA, which that's I'm kind of paraphrasing, but
yeah, sure. You asking me?
I'm asking you, and then I'm going to kind of give my thought, too.
Okay. If we say the same thing, are you going to be cool with that? Or
I'm going to try to come up with something different, but I may have the same thing.
Okay. So just to preface this, do we have another question about what the most popular product was or something like that? Or is that kind of in this
Favorite piece of gear you saw at ATA was another one by TX Bush Ninja.
Okay.
So similar question.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So let's just do trendy now. To me, the most trendy thing I saw, I'm just going to go with where I saw the most people at one spot. And that was when, Scent Crusher and Drury's just went crazy and went to throwing so much stuff. It was like a mob mentality.
Sure.
I don't really understand what was happening. We kind of stayed out of that because, man, just getting all up in people's business is not my thing. But I'm going to say that Scent Crusher in general was a pretty trendy thing.
Yeah.
They had a robot guy walking around with a gun that made a loud noise.
Oh, that was them.
I wanted to Judy chop every once in a while because it'd go off I'm not I don't know, not on edge a lot, but
the city makes you a little bit that way.
I don't
right?
like city. I don't like a lot of people around that I don't know. You know, and I think that's a normal thing for a lot of folks that kind of live in the country or whatever, always grown up in the country. And loud noises with a bunch of folks around is a little bit whoa, what was that? And I didn't like that robot
I didn't either,
too
really.
much. But the robot looked cool when I saw it.
Yeah, it was cool.
It's kind of a neat little thing or whatever. A lot of people got the pictures taken with it.
We're not sure that it wasn't like a midget person in there.
It might have been Cam Haynes that was the robot.
Oh my goodness.
It was it was on stilts. It was It was like a pretty tall but small-bodied human in there, because of the stilts. So
it was like an 8-foot thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, it doesn't look like a very tall person in there. Maybe kind of have a small head and everything. So and on that note, there was a lot. It was crazy because I think a lot of us listening probably are in the same boat. But I grew up watching a lot of outdoor TV and that kind of thing, and there's several people that you see endorsing products, just the biggest of the big, right? And they're pretty much all there. There's a lot of people there that are very famous people, and they were almost all of them were different than what you thought size-wise.
Oh, it was.
And most of the ones that were different were a touch smaller.
Yeah.
I guess, which I don't know if that's just the perception you get or what.
Michael Waddell's a lot taller than I thought he was.
He is. Yeah, for sure. He was and I have a trouble with this because I know in college I would always think, man, that guy's at least 2 inches taller than me, and then I would look at his stats and he was in the same size as me.
Yeah.
So when people are my height, I think they're taller than me. So I don't know how tall he was. But he felt like he's 6'2" or 3.
Yeah, Jared Mills. He's been on the show quite a few times, and he's a lot taller than I thought he was going to be.
Yeah. There were several that were a lot shorter. I won't name them because that's probably something they wouldn't want me to be talking about. But I was like, that guy's shorter than I thought. So, but that was interesting. So back to the trendy thing, real quick.
Yeah, and I think so before you take off, I said Scent Crusher. Back in college, I used to watch a lot of South Park, and it's pretty rough. I don't really like it too much anymore, but there was a lot of funny things, right?
Yeah, sure.
And they had this episode way back in the day called Free Hat, and it was everybody showed up to vote for something in the town of South Park because they were giving away a free hat.
Yep.
Remember that episode?
Yeah.
That's what Scent Crusher was. They gave away free hats.
Yeah.
It was probably a $4 investment per hat.
Yeah.
But for a little while there, every person had on a Scent Crusher hat, and I was oh my goodness.
They did, dude.
Yeah.
It's good thinking, man.
Yeah.
I'm thinking if we could find the money, we should do something similar to that.
Yeah.
So for me, the most trendy thing, other than that, because that was as soon as you were about to say that, I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But look at all those deer right there.
Look at them. What are they doing?
They're looking like some Texas bodies already.
Are they? Man.
So anyway, the most trendy thing. Probably, I know that like the Sitka Gear booth was one of the hardest ones to like get in and out of. I felt like, and it was pretty big. It wasn't. There was definitely some monster, like especially conglomerates there that had gigantic booths and big open floor patterns and stuff. But there was a constant like just socialization going on within that booth, and so I would say that with the like the reveal of the new whitetail stuff, the Fanatic stuff, that maybe that was kind of part of the deal as well, especially being at a whitetail show,
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like the cool place to be now, too. You know, like everybody likes Sitka.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, so that's kind of my thing. Best road trip snack. That's also by B.Shook.
He's a questionable, questionable.
Questioning.
Questionful.
Questionful.
Yeah.
It's a questionable full.
Yeah. What was your favorite road trip snack?
My favorite road trip snack of the trip or like all time?
I'm gonna say of the trip.
Okay, of the trip. So it can't be a meal, or is it just a snack? Like that we grabbed because we didn't snack a whole lot.
I don't know. What fits your fancy?
Well, technically lunch the day up here we came up here was a snack for me because I ended up getting definitely messed around at KFC trying to get some Georgia Gold chicken. But that was probably my favorite snack. Was like it was very unsatisfying, but at the same time it's because of how good the Georgia Gold chicken at KFC is. So that's mine.
And so we stopped later to get a snack. And I got a different snack than you did, and I ended up eating some of your snack because it was way better than mine, and that was pork rinds.
Oh, that was a good one.
That,
Let me tell you all this. If you're a pork rind fan, Chicharrones are the best brand of chicharrones is Golden Flake. So if you can find the Golden Flake brand, and if you think it's different, then whatever. We've got different opinions. But man, the Golden Flake, and Casey likes the real crunchy ones.
Oh yeah.
I'm more of, I like the ones that just kind of like melt in your mouth and are just so tasty and like stick to the top of your mouth, So maybe like for him or something, it might be a different brand. But like, man, those are like the most light, crispy pork rinds that I've ever had. So what about for you? Was it my snack?
Yeah,
that was your favorite?
I think your snack was my favorite.
Okay, cool.
The pork rinds. That was my snack of the road trip.
Yeah.
And I might like continue that in the future because I'm always like, I'm going to get something healthy. I don't want to eat a candy bar. So you get a Cliff Bar and you're like, start looking at the label and you're like, man, that has just as much sugar and it didn't taste as good as a Snickers.
Yeah.
So what am I doing?
Yeah, for sure. So let's see. Kind of around back towards the first question, but favorite piece of gear you saw? This is TX Bush Ninja.
Ooh, man. Favorite piece of gear I saw? I haven't really took time to like really break this down too hard. There might be others that I didn't think of, but my favorite piece of gear I think was the Lone Wolf custom gear, not to be confused with Lone Wolf.
Tree stands?
Not to be confused with Lone Wolf tree stands. But it's their saddle platform, and it's not really a saddle, but kind of like a saddle system that they have out with their sticks. It's like 10 pounds for a hunting setup.
Yeah, for that sticks.
Stand platform and saddle thing.
Yeah.
Strap thing. So
Strappy
that's
thing.
Probably like the coolest. If you could call that a product, I'm going to put like a system as a product there.
Yeah.
Because they're going to sell it as one SKU. So
we spent a lot of time there yesterday. And that was cool. It's not even. I don't even think they're marketing it yet, right?
I think March is the first time you're going to be able to purchase stuff.
So, but it was really, really cool, really well designed. The guy that designed it and ran the whole thing down for KC and myself is somebody that most people probably won't even know, right? Like, you can associate a few names with some of these brands like Lone Wolf that. But this guy's kind of behind the scenes, just tinker, right? And
he's like the run and gun guy. The guy who like started that idea of deer hunting that way. So, and we're gonna try to have him on the show at some point.
That's right.
Because he's a good talker, very knowledgeable dude. You're talking about a dude that's been doing hanging hunts for 35 plus years.
Like longer than I've been alive, dude. You know what I mean? So pretty cool. I'm excited about that. That was probably my top as well.
Yeah.
But let's see. Technically, like for me, one of the most exciting things for me is, I know when we first looked at the Sitka pack, the new pack that goes with the Fanatic system, that we were like, man, it's kind of small, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But once he ran it down and like it's a no clip system, right? So super quiet. Like all they've been working on the last few years with the Fanatic system is like, how can we make this like twice as quiet or half as much noise or however you want to say it, you know? And it's really neat. It's a really neat pack. It carries your bow. And I think that with the right system for you and I, like we can pretty much like put the pack on the stand if we were carrying stands in, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
if you're running a full stand system and not that saddle thing or whatever that we were talking about. But I think for us, the big issue with that is doing that with camera arms.
Yeah.
But if we step back from things and like try to, I think we kind of fallen into like this like confirmation of the way you carry gear in, right? And you do better at this than I do, of like just strapping stuff to your body or whatever sometimes too. I always want all my crap in my pack, you know, but I think that if we like look at that pack and then we take it and fit it to like what we do and then start putting like maybe the camera arm on our hip or something like that. It could be more ergonomic and a better system just in general. Yeah,
for sure. So then that's me just coming up with something after you kind of stole my thunder.
Yeah.
There's other things that I'm sure that I can't think of that I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about this piece.
We also looked at the XOP stuff, which was kind of the brother of the Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and that's some pretty cool stuff. It's not really new too much.
So speaking of that, one of the questions we got from Presswood 936. Am I the only one confused about Lone Wolf Custom, and XOP?
Is he, you think?
I don't think he is the only one.
I don't think so. I think everyone at the show is confused by that and intrigued even more. So, like, there's a lot of hype around that stuff. So, do you have a good grasp of what's going on there?
I don't think I would be the guy to ask, but I can lay out kind of a very generic, probably slightly ignorant explanation of what I have heard.
Let's do our best to like you start, and I'll fill in if I know something that you don't.
Sure. So like, basically, Lone Wolf tree stands has existed for I want to say like 25, 30 years, right? I think it's like an established in 1984 thing, right? So. It was, I don't know if it was Lone Wolf tree stands or just Lone Wolf or whatever it was, but for a long time, everybody knows that brand, right? And it's supposed to be like the serious guys deer stand, you know, whatever. We spend a lot of money on this, and it's super light, and people, they're, you know, it's well thought out. And so Andre DeQuisto is the guy who created that stand, that brand. He's apparently a very knowledgeable deer hunter. He shot a lot of big deer. I don't know if I hadn't personally talked to him, you know, and seen his ways. I don't guess too much, so I can't really speak like that anecdotally. But so he started that brand and eventually sold it to I think a group, I guess, and but we retained the rights to Lone Wolf as a name. Therefore, Lone Wolf Customs was created by Andre, right? Well, Andre's son Cody has gotten involved with XOP and has been a huge creator in that stuff as well, and naturally helps his dad as well, right?
Yeah.
So am I pretty much on the right line there?
I believe you are headed the right direction.
Okay, so that's how I see it. It is confusing. So Lone Wolf, you know, tree stands is not the same as Lone Wolf Customs, I guess.
Custom gear.
Custom gear. But I'm sure they all have great products. So go check them out. Make your own decisions.
The way like it's broke down is like Lone Wolf Tree Stands is a complete separate entity from Lone Wolf Custom Gear and XOP.
Yeah.
I think that XOP and Lone Wolf Custom Gear, moving forward, it's going to be like, here is your base level really good stuff, and then there's like an upper echelon of like
here's the guys willing to spend $700 or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. And Lone Wolf Custom Gear also is going to be a plethora of stuff. Like there's like, we looked at some arrow components. They have bows, trail cameras, all kinds of stuff. They're going to have a bunch of different products to look at.
The arrow components were intriguing. Yeah, for sure. We asked a lot of questions.
I actually talked to Andre a touch about those because they're really a new thing, a new thought. One of the things that kind of like big takeaway from ATA is like there's not a ton of like innovation, really. You know, maybe there is in bows, but that's just to like really geeked out physics guys, you know. But like to me, you know, a bow that shoots 335 versus 340, you know, like I don't know, you know, whatever. They all kill deer, but like the stuff that they were working on with those air components, I mean, that's really new thoughts, man. And I don't know if it's gonna work per se, but at least like somebody's trying to be creative and do something different that nobody has really thought much about at all. You know, it's kind of a system of air components with like an insert-outsert on the front, and then also something very similar on the back. And the idea is that on bad shots or shots that you don't get a pass-through on, you actually still get a good blood trail because blood pumps through your arrow and out the rear end of like the nock. Kind of crazy, really.
It is crazy. It was very intriguing. We asked a ton of questions about it. And I will say this, that, you know, Andre answered most of those questions really quickly. Yeah. And that maybe, you know, I don't know, like there are better salesmen than others at any show or in the world or whatever, right? So you never know. But like he had apparently, you know, he's a thinker. So I think that he thought this out and he knows answers to certain questions like that. And we asked a lot of tough questions. We did that a lot of the time, and you stumped a ton of people, and it was hilarious to me. I'm glad. You know, there was a lot of people that just didn't know their stuff, and then there was guys that like you asked like really tough questions too, and they were stumbling. This is like, I haven't heard this one the whole show, maybe even in the last 5 years, you know. So it was good, you know. We trying to make them, you know,
make them work for the money.
That's right, make them work for the money. So anyway, that's kind of the deal there. Let's see. There's this will kind of probably segue us into the rest of this conversation, but. Another one from B.Shook 5. Like you said, questionful guy.
That's him.
Best conversation at ATA.
Best conversation at ATA. Can we say that this is separate from the building that the whole time? So like pretty much from the time we got to Louisville to the time we left. Best conversation. I made friends with a guy named Patrick Durkin, who is a outdoor rider, and he's been an outdoor rider for a long time. He works the Meat Eater crew some. Really cool, intriguing fellow who has
smiley guy.
Yes, smiley guy.
That's
actually
what we like.
Ended up sitting next to him inadvertently and unknowingly at the QMA CWD. Okay, let me just not use a bunch of acronyms.
That's a lot of acronyms.
So the Quality Deer Management Association, Chronic Wasting Disease. Those two things are separate. Okay, so it's the panel about CWD, about chronic wasting disease, put on by National Deer Alliance, Quality Deer Management Association, and also Dr. James Woods. Grant Woods. James Woods. I think that's on Family Guy.
I'm pretty sure it is on Family Guy.
And he's an actor, too. But anyways, Dr. Grant Woods, who's super knowledgeable. Yeah. Apparently I'm not, so that's fine. But anyways, Pat Durkin, really smart dude who... one thing I enjoy about conversations is when individuals really like to get deep on certain subjects, but not just preach. They want to hear what you have to say about this as well. And that's how Pat was, man. We had a good, long, probably hour-long talk at supper last night, and really cool dude. And I always like when people of different generations can sit down and talk and enjoy each other's company, whether that's like me going up in generations or down. It doesn't really matter. You know?
Yeah. At the same dinner, last night's dinner, I didn't really get to partake in that because I was kind of on the other side of the table and was speaking with Lindsey Thomas Jr., LTJ, and Brian Grossman as well. So that was my favorite conversation. You know, it's weird because I know the first day you really struggled with just the whole show, and it was maybe different a little bit than you thought it would be. And it's cutthroat and lots of people that are just caring about money and business and their products and themselves. And it's been different than some of the outdoor hangouts we've had, you know. It's not conservation oriented, and you're kind of like mentioning to me and saying, hey, I just wish that like this was like a TRCP event or a QDMA convention where like at the end of the night, like we can go out as a pretty big group and have dinner and still like carry on these exciting conversations about like what work needs to be done and that kind of thing. And like we're on the same team, right? Instead of we're all fighting to be on the same team, you know, or whatever. So
exactly, man. It's just like the first day of the show was just I was just like left like downtrodden, you know, because it's just so many people who are just fighting for their share of the market. And I just look at this thing as a huge opportunity for us to actually do some good, you know, and even build relationships. And there's very few people there who really cared about even the like personal side of things much, you know, not that we even had to like do conservation work, but just people who were there genuinely to get to know other people. There are some there. I mean, and there are quite a few. I'll say that, but there are many who are there to get their picture taken and self-promote. And man, I don't know. And maybe I'm being hypocritical because I mean we're there for similar reasons, right? Like we're there because we want to further the element, but we want to do that by doing good in this world, right?
Yeah.
And
well, I want to do that by through solid relationships with people.
Yeah.
That's what I like is having. I may have mentioned this recently, but I'm not a small talker too much. Like I genuinely want to know things about your life. You know, I don't want to just talk about the weather, right? And so, I feel like that I would rather spend several years getting to know somebody, and then, you know, if there was a benefit to come from that relationship, that it would benefit me because we're friends and they want to gift that to me, right? You know what I'm saying? As opposed, like I get a Christmas present from, you know, a good friend of mine or whatever. Like it's not because I you know, can bring them some amount of money through audience or something like that, right? So and that's kind of the spirit of Christmas. Well, that's kind of how I want it to be, is the spirit of Christmas, you know, at the ATA show.
Yeah.
So that's kind of how I feel about the whole thing. And we didn't press anything at all, you know. So
I think by like day 2, you to steal something that you might use a lot, you kind of find your tribe.
Yeah.
Right, and you figure out who you really care to be there to talk to and stuff, you know, and it might take you a little bit to just be not quite as shell-shocked, but, you know, Sitka booth, QDMA guys, you know, folks like that we know and kind of are on the same page with, you can go and have some good talks and some good relationships. And honestly, this kind of led into like the QDMA panel on chronic wasting disease. We go to that, and there's a bunch of podcasters in there, and that kind of made me feel good, man. That like, I think that in this sphere, there's a lot of people trying to do good, you know, and maybe some of them are in there even for personal reasons, you know, or whatever. But wasn't a lot of TV folks in there, man. And I'm going to take this like as an opportunity to brag on a few. Pat and Nicole Reeves were there, and they were there at the QDMA banquet this summer. Yep. And we're kind of like the celebrities there, like kind of like the big name or whatever. And I didn't think much of it, but then like to see them there, and even Pat like had one of the questions for the panel that like it wasn't like a setup thing.
8 or 9 or 10 questions.
Yeah,
right?
like he wanted the mic to ask a question, and it's kind of an edgy question. You know, he was kind of questioning some Department of Wildlife stuff. You know, and like, are we really doing the right thing here? And I kind of appreciated that. Not only would he show up to that, which I think more should, but he was willing to ask a question that wasn't like the man, way to go, guys, you know, like he had some true concerns, and I made sure that he knew that I appreciated that, you know, and I just really do appreciate their presence and the fact that, man, I told this to some of the other folks at dinner, like I was pretty sad that I looked back behind us and there weren't more faces that I recognize from TV. You know, we're at the largest gathering probably in the world of at least the whitetailers, right?
Yeah, whitetail.
I mean, shots,
celebrities, you know, I mean, famous people from the whitetail world.
Yeah, and people who like actually, not that like us as podcasters and other media providers can't do a lot of good, but I mean, let's be real, like your average media consumer watches outdoor television, right? So that's the people that we need being informed. And as of late, not only have they been silent, but there's been a few like outdoor TV folks like just straight up fake newsing, right?
Yeah.
And it's been kind of disappointing. But
it is.
Anyways, I just appreciate Pat Nicole being there.
Yeah. That's a start. You know, I don't know if that's. I can't really speak. I don't know. I say that's a start. I don't know. I haven't been doing this community, this tight knit, and with this many like influential people in the community for that long, right? So I can't really say that Pat wasn't there 2 years ago when they did something similar or whatever.
Yeah.
But we have a starting point, right? We know what we have now. We've got one celebrity that we knew of, that we saw in there at the time, and a bunch of media guys. And so maybe as the media writes, some of these people, these more famous people and faces in the industry will start to realize, hey, this is a hot topic. Like, people care about this.
Yeah.
And they care about, if the media continues to do a good job, people will care about it because it'll be in front of them a lot,
Yeah.
And so maybe we can have that influence indirectly to bring some of these more prominent faces within the industry into those types of meetings and discussions and that kind of information, man.
You know what else? There was one more celebrity TV personality in there than there was huntresses.
Yeah.
There were 0 huntresses at this thing.
That's true. That is true.
Not to just go too far off of that, but that was another one of the things that I just don't like much about the show is that I'm sure that there are some good people who might brand themselves as that, but, man, there's a whole lot of fluff running around at the ATA show that you just got to work your way through.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people working hard to provide good content, and there's also a lot of people who just randomly have 200,000 Instagram followers.
That's right, man. So it was the show's a tough thing to do. For us, it was walking around with backpacks with podcasting gear. We had camera gear in some backpacks.
That's what we call that.
That's what my wife calls them.
So not to deviate too far, but I also told a guy we know to. All right, we know this guy. It's just Spencer Newhart. You've done some rut radios and stuff.
Sure,
for him, right?
yeah.
And,
he's a podcaster. He works with Wired to Hunt. Mark Kenyon. He's been on the podcast as well.
So we've talked to him on social media and email, all kinds of stuff, quite a bit. But like this show is kind of about putting some faces with names or whatever. Well, we saw him, talk to him, and when we were leaving, I said, "Nice to see you." I said, "Nice to meet you."
Yep,
Which, what was good is it wasn't like I told Mark Drury that, So don't be offended, Spencer, but you're cool, but you're not.
He's
Mark
a logical
Drury.
guy. I think he knows.
Yeah, he understands.
So. It was a good one because I tend to say "nice to see you" because when I toured in music. There was a lot of people that I would meet late at night or just a lot of people in general I would meet, You may shake their hand and then talk to their friend for 2 minutes and then go meet somebody else or whatever, right? And so you don't even know, you don't remember that first person you shook their hand of, right? So I don't, there was so many times that I never knew if I had, have I met this person? I always talk to my manager, be like, and I told him at some point, I was like, hey, dude, if I know the person, as they're coming up, you need to say, this person, because my memory's just not good. I've had 4 concussions. It's, it's not a great memory. And so I got into the habit of saying, nice to see you. Even if I had never met them, it's kind of like a way around
That's a good one, man.
Yeah, so I think because I was saying that, but you weren't used to saying, you're usually saying nice to meet you.
Yeah.
It might have really thrown you off. So I'll take some blame for that, man.
We did a little word blending. We do like word blending for fun, anyways.
We do.
So,
Dude, the 2-word combination is the best thing. It's the funnest thing that I think I do, and out of things that don't matter. You know,
I just might embrace that. I might start saying "nice to see you" and just see how many people catch it.
It's a combo starter. It's when you're trying to end the conversation. It's a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a good trip, but like I was saying earlier, it was carrying that stuff around, man. You just don't know how bad my traps were hurting. and your feet start hurting a little bit, which mine never really do. People talk about their feet hurting. I don't know if I've just got like this strong, muscly foot because of high arch or something like that, but more than anything, like my legs just kind of, you're not used to like standing and walking all day. It's just a little different muscle group than sometimes what you use, especially a guy who edits a lot of footage and podcasts. So,
and hard floors don't help.
Yeah,
like you can walk all day, like in the mountains on dirt or whatever, and it not hurt as bad as walk around on like concrete all day.
Yeah. So we've been in this weird funk, and we probably started the podcast out this way, but just where like I could drink as much Spark and he could have as much coffee as he wanted, and we're just like not even hardly talking, which never happens in the truck as we're driving. And it's just like every time you look out the window, all of a sudden your eyes want to close. And it's not necessarily that we were staying up late or anything like that, but it was more the fact that I think we just like your mental focus and thinking like, okay, well, as soon as you get done talking to such and such, you've got to really refocus on what your next goal is as you walk down amongst a million different products being thrown at you and visually and or many other senses. So
we talked about this earlier, but like even people you really want to be in a conversation with, sometimes you have a hard time like concentrating because there's so much going on, and you said so many words and listened to so many words that day, like you just kind of like glaze over, and then you feel bad about it because you're like, I actually care what you're saying, I just can't concentrate right now.
And all this like that we're talking about, it's something that like it's a very hard thing to do. So I don't want to encourage that, like if you kind of want to do something, if you kind of want to be in the outdoors and do that for a living, I don't want to necessarily encourage you to do that, because sometimes it's good enough to make a good living and like work a decent job that you kind of enjoy, and then go do your hobby, right? Instead of pursuing something like that. That's okay. So, but at the same time, I don't want to discourage you because we saw Colby, a guy who's followed our story and has sent us. He sent us a bear film that he produced or it was co-produced or whatever it was. I can't remember, but I know he was involved in that, and I watched that, and it was really cool. And so anyway, we were walking down the show floor. And so these two guys were just kind of standing on the side, and they kind of were like, "Hey, what's up, guys?" Kind of like quiet, And I was like, "Hey," and I was thinking, "Man, we're about to get sold to again." And so I didn't really pay attention to what I was doing. And it's like like what Nick Penizzotto from the NDA yesterday, he was like, they call it the 1,000-foot stare, And that's what I was in, is like this mode where I'm just like looking down the floor and I forget to actually look around me and pay attention, And so, like, I just, like, kind of walked by, and you're like, "Hey, man, what's up?" And we walked on by. And we overheard Colby saying, "Those guys are from East Texas," because I guess he's, they're kind of in our area. And we were like, "Hey, you guys know us." And so, like, we kind of realized or whatever and met. And I'm just saying that to say, like, he's trying to break into this thing. And if you're young, youthful, you got the energy, you got the time, man, do it too if you want to, I mean, just know that it's not something that is 100% glory all the time. And even those people that are up there, like you were talking about, smiling, taking pictures in front of everybody, and they're the faces of the industry, and they're making good money, and or got hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers or whatever it might be. Like, those people, don't be envious of those people. Don't be envious of us, because there are struggles that I have and that KC struggles with every day that most of y'all out there might not struggle with. And then same thing for, looking at a guy like Michael Waddell or somebody like that we've mentioned so far. Those guys struggle with things too, and not their life outside of what you see outside of the telephoto lens, is it may or may not be very glorious, right? It may be a struggle. They may argue with their wife or their husband, whoever it may be, some relationship in their life, their best friend. They may be in a big argument with them. You never know what they're dealing with. So just count your blessings, be grateful for that, and take everything that we say and everything that you see, and don't be envious or don't be greedy, wanting, hey, man, the guys from the Element are doing this and going to the ATA, and like, oh, I just wish I could do that. Because I know personally I've done that a lot of my life. It's like, oh, why can't I just be this guy, do this? This guy is like, he's not doing much anything else better than I am, but he's just gets to do all these cool things. And, I guess my point as kind of a concluder, as kind of a wrap up, is like, man, just be grateful what you've got going on. Count your blessings. I believe it's in Corinthians, and I don't want to mess it up too much, but basically, everything that you have received.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that you can go out and get. You know what I'm saying? You're given what you get.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Yeah.
kind of my last thought there.
I think the condensed version of that is something your dad says about you're only going to kill as many big bucks as what God wants you to.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
That's right, man.
But I think kind of as a follow up to what you said, maybe just a little add on, and you said this earlier, but because someone's famous doesn't mean you shouldn't cut them some slack every once in a while.
Yeah.
You were talking about how some people might reach out to a famous person trying to, just tell them good job or whatever, or just ask them a question and they don't get a reply. It's because that person is a very, very, very busy person, and they probably do care about you and what you have to say or whatever. But, man, sometimes, especially when there's shows like this going on and stuff, there's so much going on and your brain gets frazzled in general. I've not answered text messages and phone calls and thought that I'd replied, and you can only imagine people who are actually famous, that have to deal with this stuff. I can't imagine, the little bit that I have to do is a lot for me. And I'm sure that that's what makes people pros, right? And that's what makes people polished. But at the same time, I think that if we cut everybody that we encounter a little bit more slack than what we do, it'd make up for a better world.
Yeah, dude, I've got a song about it, man. And I tell this story every time I play this song, which has been a lot over the last several years. And it's going to be on the new record, so I'm going to go ahead and plug that for all you listeners. Whenever that comes out, it's being mastered right now. But it's a song called Red, and it's about Red being the Red River, right? So that's the border, for most people don't know, that's the border between Oklahoma and Texas for a certain part of it, right? And what I was noticing is I'd go fly fishing a lot, and you watched one of my videos the other day, my fly fishing videos back when it was good in my spot, and when I would notice that when I went over into Beaver's Bend and crossed over the border, that the towns were small towns with oak trees and pecan trees and big trucks with pipes on them, which I never had but I always wanted, and small town country dudes like me, it didn't look any different when I crossed the Red River, right?
Yeah.
But for some reason, there's always these standing jokes about hills have eyes people in Oklahoma, and those Texans, they sure are stuck up people about their ways, and this and that. There's this, of course, the OU and the UT battles and the mean things that can sometimes be said between people that are fans of those schools. And so my whole gist of my song is based out of the last line of the chorus is always, there's blood in the river, and that's why they call it the Red. So we both, saying that we're basically one and the same, right? Until you've walked a million miles in somebody's shoes, it's kind of hard to be super judgmental of them. And anyway, like you said, cut some people some slack. I think it's important, especially in a day that's so just violent and social media. Everybody's got an opinion, right? So,
yeah, that's right.
Anyway.
So, Huntresses, I'm sorry what I've said about you in the past.
There you go.
I'll cut you some slack.
No, I think you've cut them some slack. I think you're at the point of where slack has been cut.
End of the slack. Yeah,
it's the end of the slack.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is the end of this podcast, and thank you guys for listening. I hope that you got some good information out of that. If you have any more questions, feel free to reach out through our email on our website, or direct message. And or direct message through Facebook, Instagram, that kind of thing. So we almost forgot to do this, but we're going to do it. We have to announce the OnX Premium Annual Membership winners. I don't know. I feel like every time I say that, it's a different order of words.
That's all right.
But sorry about that. So this is interesting. But I pulled up all our subscribers, and I would just flick the mouse, and the person that was at the very top that I could read, the last name that I could read at the top, was the person that won the membership, right? Mm-hmm. So that was just the way we did this one, and we ended up having 3 guys named Michael out of 4. So there are a lot of Michaels out there right now listening going, oh my gosh, I think I won this thing. So I'm sorry to hurt your feelings, Michael, but you didn't win this one. The other Michael did. So the first guy is Michael Buckman. That's what these guys are called on YouTube as subscribers. Thank you for subscribing, Michael Buckman. Next guy, David Garland. David, you are the one non-Michael that won out of all of these people, out of 1,010, I think it was at this point, people. The next Michael is Michael P. Michael P, and that is just the letter P. It's not P-E-E, like Mr. Dopey. Michael P, you won. Good job, and thank you for the subscription. And then one last Michael. That would be Michael Whitley, I believe that's how you say that. I'm sorry if it's Whiteley, but it looks like Whitley to me. Michael Whitley, congrats, man. You've won the OnX Premium membership. It has been announced here and previously on the Facebook Live video that we are doing here in the next 10 minutes. So you'll have a chance of hearing it first there if you've already heard it on either one of these medias, one of these outlets. Make sure that you send us a message on any social platform, or that you would send us an email through our website and let us know you won the OnX membership, and we'll get it to you guys. Thank you, all three Michaels. Thank you, David. And thank you to the other 1,006 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you guys for being subscribers and just tuning into what we're doing. I hope you enjoy the video that's coming out soon. I know I hated making it because we were so close to killing a couple of monster bucks. But anyway, thank y'all for the support, man. And until we do the next giveaway or the next podcast or whatever you connect with us on, God bless you guys. And remember, this is your element.
Living it.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Art Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24th, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.